It is early May 1945. Nazi Germany is collapsing. Across Europe, German armies are surrendering in massive numbers, while Adolf Hitler is already dead. Yet despite the war being only days from its end, scattered units of the Waffen-SS continue to fight fanatically, refusing to lay down their weapons. In the mountains of Western Austria, one final and extraordinary battle is about to unfold. Captain John Jack Lee Jr. and the men of the 23rd Tank Battalion, 12th Armoured Division, are stationed near the Austrian town of Kufstein in the beautiful Tyrol region. Their mission seems routine as Allied forces push deeper into the remaining German-held territory. None of them realise they are about to become part of one of World War II's most remarkable rescue missions. Without warning, a German Kübelwagen rounds a nearby corner. Every American soldier instantly raises his weapon. The vehicle carries 2 German officers, but something is different. Instead of preparing to fight, a white flag flutters from the vehicle, signalling surrender. The Americans quickly surround the car and order the occupants out at gunpoint. One of the men is Major Josef Gangl, a highly decorated officer in the German Wehrmacht. He is searched, disarmed, and forced to kneel, while Captain Lee's men decide whether they can trust him. Then comes an astonishing revelation. Gangl explains that he is no longer fighting for Hitler. Instead, he has joined members of the Austrian resistance and has been secretly protecting civilians from fanatical SS units that refuse to surrender. To prove his story, he hands Captain Lee a handwritten message in English. The note describes a desperate situation unfolding only a few miles away at Castle Itter. For years, the medieval fortress had served as a special prison for some of France's most important political leaders, military officers, and prominent public figures. Unlike ordinary concentration camps, these influential prisoners had been kept alive as valuable bargaining chips for the Nazi leadership. But now, with the Third Reich collapsing, their value has disappeared. Intelligence reports warn that heavily armed SS troops are moving toward the castle with orders to eliminate every prisoner before Allied forces can reach them. If no one intervenes immediately, the distinguished captives will almost certainly be massacred. Captain Lee studies the message for only a moment before making his decision. Known among his men as a fearless officer who never backed away from danger, Lee immediately understands the importance of the mission. There is no time to wait for reinforcements. Turning to his soldiers with a determined smile, he announces that they are heading out on a rescue mission. What follows is one of the most unbelievable alliances of the Second World War. American tankers and infantry join forces with Major Gangl and a group of German Wehrmacht soldiers who have chosen to defy the Nazi regime. Former enemies now stand shoulder to shoulder against a common foe, the Waffen-SS. The journey to Castle Itter is anything but easy. The small force encounters several SS roadblocks, exchanging gunfire as they force their way through narrow mountain roads. Aging bridges threaten to collapse beneath the weight of American armour, forcing difficult decisions about which vehicles can continue. By the time they finally reach the castle, Lee's rescue force is far smaller than he had hoped. Only a single Sherman tank, his beloved Besotten Jenny, has managed to make the trip. Alongside it are just 7 American soldiers and roughly a dozen German Wehrmacht troops and Austrian resistance fighters loyal to Major Gangl. It is a tiny force, hopelessly outnumbered by the SS units gathering around the fortress. Inside the castle wait some of France's most famous prisoners, unaware that their survival now depends on an unlikely alliance between American soldiers and German troops fighting together for freedom. Within hours, Castle Itter will become the scene of one of the strangest and most inspiring battles of World War II, a battle where yesterday's enemies stand side by side against a fanatical enemy determined to fight to the very end. At the castle, they are met by the mainly French prisoners and an SS Captain Kurt Siegfried Schrader, who has brought his family to the castle and surprisingly has vowed to defend the French prisoners even against the SS. The French VIPs, who were expecting a larger contingent of rescuers, were rather unimpressed with the somewhat underwhelming rescue force of one tank, a handful of Americans and some German soldiers. Knowing many SS are on the way to assault the castle, the Americans, the Wehrmacht, and the SS captain form an unlikely alliance to defend the French VIPs. Many of the French are elderly politicians. Lee tells them to head to the cellar and hide with the women and children, but the belligerent Frenchmen said "non" and took up arms to form part of the defence force. Schrader told Lee that 2 PaK-40 anti-tank guns had been seen moving into position in the woods outside the castle by a group of Waffen-SS. Preparing the defences, Lee ordered that the besotten Jenny be backed up towards the gatehouse, gun facing outwards. One of the 30 caliber machine guns was removed from besotten Jenny and placed on the roof of the gatehouse. The 76mm gun was readied with high explosives. It was unlikely that they would be needed to fight against German armour, and explosive shells would work better against the infantry in an assault. The friendly Germans wore a strip of dark cloth around their left arms to identify them in the coming battle. The defensive force took positions in various places around the castle. They all knew that if a large party of Waffen-SS assaulted Castle Itter, what the inevitable conclusion would be. If the battle went the wrong way before reinforcements arrived, everyone was to retreat to the central keep and fight hand to hand, medieval style if necessary. Night falls, and some of the men rest. Around 4 a.m, an exchange of fire occurs, but after return fire booming from besotten Jenny's 50 caliber, it's silenced. Around 8 a.m, there's fire from the friendly Germans. One of Gangl's men has decided his loyalties are elsewhere and fled the castle into the nearby woods. This is a disaster. He would of course tell the SS exactly how many men were in the castle and where the weaknesses in defences were. Lee was also concerned that none of the friendly Germans had actually hit the deserter, which had him questioning the loyalty of his newfound allies. But there was no time to worry about that. Through binoculars, Lee saw the ominous sight of over 100 SS troops arriving in several trucks and melting into the forest to join the siege. Shortly after, an 88mm round slammed into the keep, swiftly followed by 20mm cannon, and the battle restarted. The windows of the castle were shot out, and chunks of masonry fell all around as the assault continued. Back in front of the gatehouse, a huge clang resounded, and besotten Jenny lurched. The old girl was hit by an anti-tank round, and she was enveloped in fire. The crew escaped and got back inside the gatehouse just in time before the Sherman's ammunition cooked off. The French VIPs, mainly older men, were calmly ignoring Lee's orders to take cover and decided that they too would join in the melee. Gathering behind the parapets, they covered the south side, enthusiastically firing all the time. One of the men, Paul Reynaud, was an ex-Prime Minister of France. He decided he was best positioned, getting in the thick of the fire with the Americans in the gatehouse. To the horror of the Americans and friendly Germans, he was being reckless and exposing himself. Unwilling to lose a French VIP in the battle, Gangl, the German major, saw the danger and jumped up and dashed towards the Frenchman. A sniper spotted the opportunity and took the shot. Lee watched as Gangl was fatally hit. The fire from the 88 intensified, and the SS started to press their advantage. One of the prisoners, Jean Borotra, was an ex-tennis player. An athletic man, he was known as the Bounding Basque. Courageously, he stepped forward and told Lee he would vault the wall and go and get reinforcements. Lee knew the danger and that the chances of success were negligible, but he agreed. Disguising himself as an Austrian peasant, Borotra vaulted over the wall and melted into the forest, immediately stumbling upon 2 SS soldiers manning a machine gun. To the absolute astonishment of the SS soldiers, Borotra committed to his disguise and calmly waved, pretended to forage for food, and then relieved himself on a nearby tree. Waving goodbye to the dumbfounded SS, he carried on his way to get help. The battle reached its most desperate stage. Waves of Waffen-SS soldiers continued their assault, pouring rifle and machine gun fire into Castle Itter as they searched for a way to break through the defenders' shrinking perimeter. Among the attackers, one SS soldier prepared a Panzerfaust, the powerful anti-tank weapon capable of destroying a Sherman with a single, well-placed shot. As the launcher was readied, the SS commanders ordered a full-scale assault, believing this was their best chance to overwhelm the castle before Allied reinforcements could arrive. The defenders braced themselves for what looked like the final attack. Then in the distance, the unmistakable sound of tank engines echoed through the valley. Moments later, an American Sherman tank, nicknamed Boche Buster, burst into view, leading truckloads of fresh US infantry toward the castle. The reinforcements had finally arrived just in time. Among them was the famous French tennis champion Jean Borotra, who had earlier escaped the fortress to find help. Now wearing an American military uniform, he returned alongside the rescue force that had raced back to Castle Itter. The sudden appearance of additional American troops completely changed the battle. Realizing that their attempt to eliminate the French prisoners had failed, the Waffen-SS soldiers abandoned their assault. Rather than risk being surrounded, they withdrew into the surrounding forests, bringing one of the most extraordinary engagements of the Second World War to an end. The Battle of Castle Itter became one of history's most remarkable examples of former enemies fighting together against a common threat. American soldiers, loyal members of the German Wehrmacht, Austrian resistance fighters, and French prisoners had stood shoulder to shoulder to defeat the fanatical Waffen-SS. The victory came at a cost. Major Josef Gangl was killed during the fighting after exposing himself to enemy fire while protecting former French Prime Minister Paul Reynaud. His courage made him a national hero in post-war Austria, and today he is remembered as one of the few German officers who chose honour over blind loyalty to the collapsing Nazi regime. Captain John Jack Lee Jr. was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross, the United States Army's second highest decoration for extraordinary heroism, in recognition of his fearless leadership throughout the battle. Meanwhile, SS Captain Kurt Siegfried Schrader, who had previously treated the prisoners humanely and later joined the castle's defence against the attacking SS, was imprisoned for 2 years after the war. Given his assistance in saving the prisoners, his sentence was far lighter than many former SS officers received. Much of what we know about this incredible battle comes from historian Stephen Harding's acclaimed book, The Last Battle, which carefully reconstructs the events through military records and eyewitness accounts. It tells the astonishing true story of a battle where Americans, German soldiers, Austrian resistance fighters, and French prisoners united to defeat a fanatical enemy during the final days of World War II. History is filled with unforgettable moments, but few are as extraordinary as the Battle of Castle Itter, a battle that proved courage, honour, and humanity could overcome hatred, even in the closing hours of the deadliest conflict the world has ever known. If you enjoyed this true story and want to discover more remarkable events from history that deserve to be remembered, consider subscribing to the channel. Your support helps us continue bringing these incredible stories to life. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.